We're ready to begin, Mayor Robinson.
Thank you very much, Director. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the West Grade Council meeting for December 21st, 2021. I am calling the meeting to order on item number 1. We have all members of council present. There is a quorum for this meeting. And at this time, Director Mighton, could you please explain the electronic features of today's meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Before I begin, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter meeting ID 895-1388-4846. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is being held in 2 locations, on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation and comments are not monitored through live stream on YouTube and must be done through the Zoom meeting software. Both members of staff and council have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software. Members of council and staff will be raising their hands physically on camera to speak. For members of the public, if you require technical assistance at any point during this meeting, you can send a chat message to myself, Carrie Mighton, and I will attempt to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Mighton. We're moving on to item number 2, which is moment of reflection. At this time, would you please take a quiet pause? Thank you. We are now moving, I do see an electronic hand. Deputy Mayor, why is your hand up? I would like to move on to item number 3.
Thank you very much, Mayor Robinson. I would like to state a point of privilege and a point of order with respect to item 4.2 on the agenda. Councillor Hergert's notice of motion respecting the Airport Commission. I'd like to speak to the point of privilege and the point of order together. My point of privilege is that the notice of motion mentions me in my role as a municipality's representative on the Airport Commission and attributes to me an inaccurate statement regarding the Commission's draft business plan. My point of order is that the notice of motion is based on the belief that council can give direction to the Commission on the matters that the notice of motion refers to. We have no power to give direction to the Commission on such matters. It also contains a number of factual inaccuracies about matters that are being undertaken by the Commission. On these grounds, it is out of order and should not be considered by council today. Ruling it out of order would also satisfy my point of privilege. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to this matter.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. 4.2, the notice of motion regarding the Saugeen Municipal Airport. I will rule it out of order and that it is not within the jurisdiction of this council to be dealing with it. So the item will not be addressed on this agenda.
Madam Mayor, I would challenge that. And I would
Clerk
seek for a
Scharbeck?
vote on the challenge. I would challenge that and I would seek.
Councillor Herger, please, we want to keep decorum and respect and not overtalk individuals. Thank you. So with that in mind, Clerk Scharbeck, could you please address the procedure at this point?
Madam Mayor, I'm seeking a point of privilege as well. It's Councillor Hergert, and I challenge your decision.
I understand that, Councillor Hergert, and my decision stands. And
will that come as a vote?
Councillor Hergert, I've asked our clerk to address the matter. Clerk Scharbeck, please.
Through Mayor Robinson, to challenge the chair's ruling, yes, it does need to be a vote. So Councillor Hergert could move that the ruling to, that the motion is out of order be challenged. And it does need to be seconded. And then it's not a debatable motion, a vote called.
Thank you, Clerk Scharbeck. Councillor Hergert, what do you wish to do?
I challenge this. I move a motion to challenge the decision of the chair.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Shea? Is that a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Clerk Sharbeck, could you read the motion at hand? I'm asking for a recorded vote. So could you please address the recorded vote? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. The motion moved by Councillor Herger and seconded by Councillor Shea is that the decision of the chair regarding the notice of motion being the ruling that the notice of motion is out of order is hereby challenged. And you called for a recorded vote.
Clerk Sharbeck, could you just explain that to vote yet what yes means and what no means for this vote, please? That you're in favor of the yes means that you are in favor of the challenge. Is that correct?
Yes, the motion is that the ruling of the chair be challenged or is hereby challenged. So the ruling of the chair was that the notice of motion regarding the airport was out of order because it's ultra vires in many ways. And moved by Councillor Herger and seconded by Councillor Shea.
Thank you for the clarity.
So, Councillor Hamilton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Townsend, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Robinson?
No.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson?
Not in favor.
Councillor Shea?
Yes.
Councillor Hutchinson?
Not in favor.
Councillor Herger?
Yes.
And that motion is carried.
With that, the notice of motion will be addressed further on in this agenda. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Members of council, are there any declarations at this point? We're moving now on to item number 4, delegations presentations. So in accordance with the West Grade procedural bylaw, each delegation shall be limited in speaking to not more than 10 minutes, and presentations are requested by council shall have a time limit as determined between the clerk and the presenter. We have a delegation on this morning. It'll be for a 10-minute time period. 4.1 delegation, Christine Rennie, Principal Planning Consultant, Georgian Planning Solutions, and Mr. Walter Brose, Brose Subdivision. Good morning, and please go ahead with your delegation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Kristen Rennie from Georgian Planning Solutions. Thank you for your time this morning. I did submit a letter, which I assume everyone has received and had an opportunity to review. The point of that was that we wanted to let you know that we were part of that meeting that happened, I guess it was 11 days ago now, how time flies. And it was related to the proposed zoning amendment that we applied for to support the draft plan of subdivision that was recently approved by the county. We'd like to note that we do appreciate the outcome of that conversation that happened at that meeting and are in support of the change of the amendment to the zoning bylaw for the minimum lot front yard setback from 4.5 meters to 5.5 meters. And I did articulate in the letter as well that all of the other zoning provisions within your zoning bylaw would have to be maintained as well in terms of the discussion that you had in relation to the parking, the size of the parking lot. Mr. Brose does typically provide a 6-meter parking area. So the 5.5 is reasonable for him. And it does still allow for the flexibility within the subdivision design in terms of different unit types. So we do appreciate that. And I just wanted to make us available to answer any questions if need be. So I think I'm under the 10 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, and we respect that, quite frankly. And so at this point, I will just ask council members, are there any questions of clarity with regard to the delegation? I'm not seeing any, so thank you very much, Kristen Rennie. I apologize for the pronunciation. I defer to a name like mine. I do apologize. Thank you for being here. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item number 5, members of council, public meetings. That is an NA for this particular agenda. Now we're on to item number 6, which is comment period. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, comments may be made to council with respect to a specific agenda item. A maximum of 2 minutes per person is allotted for comments, with a maximum of 10 minutes in total for the comment period. So at this point, Director Mighton, could you please assist in terms of how a member of our public could participate in comment period?
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. It should be noted for this portion of the meeting, public participation must be done through the Zoom meeting software and cannot be done through the live stream on YouTube. For members of the public waiting to participate in this portion of the meeting, you may do so in one of 2 ways. First being, if you have joined us via the phone line, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and that will let us know that you would like to speak. After speaking, or if you've raised your hand in error, you can press *9 again to lower your hand. If you have joined us using the Zoom meeting software, you can either send a chat message to myself, Carrie Mighton, either stating that you would like to speak or that you would like your message read on your behalf, or you can raise your hand electronically, usually located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen with a blue or yellow hand icon.
Thank you. And with that, Director Mighton, do you see anyone that wishes to comment?
Yes, I do have Doug Townsend that would like to speak.
Very good. Well, hello, Doug Townsend, welcome. Doug Townsend is chair of the West Grey Police Service Board. Good morning.
Good morning. Your worship and members of council, on behalf of the West Grey Police Services Board, I am here to express my concerns about notice of motion item 14.3 on today's agenda regarding a request for the OPP costing. Based on the consensus of the police board members, you were forwarded information we received recently, that being the Auditor General of Ontario's audit report of the OPP, which identified shortcomings. For example, out of 230 municipalities, they found that 111 or 48% of these municipalities received less than 75% of the constable hours and full-time equivalent staff the OPP themselves identified were needed to respond to calls for service on a timely basis, including 26 municipalities that received less than 50% of the hours needed. In addition to the Auditor General's report, you received updated information highlighting the services provided by the West Grey Police Service to the area residents, as well as statistics that track the number of calls West Grey has answered on behalf of the OPP. Calls for service are on an increase, and our service is growing to meet those needs and ensure the safety of this community. The board is compelled by the Police Services Act to prepare a business plan every 3 years. Although not fully completed and published yet, the board has seen through the data analysis stage and stakeholder interviews held with schools, businesses, and service organizations evidence that they would like to see more police officers and more programs. Our West Grey officers know our municipality and know the residents, which provide an additional level of protection that West Grey would not get by contracting with the OPP. An important fact also to consider is the number of the force that live in West Grey spend their dollars here supporting the local economy. Again, something we would not get with OPP. In closing, we ask that you take into account the high level of policing you currently receive, delivered within sound and responsible budgets. What the board is hearing is that the people of West Grey want to keep and grow the West Grey Police Service. We already have what other communities want, a great municipal force. Don't give it away. Councils are
Thank
elected.
you, Chair Townsend. That would be your 2-minute time frame.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Mighton, is there anyone else that wishes to speak? I want to ensure that within that 10 minutes, anybody that wants to speak has an opportunity.
Just checking the electronic hands. I don't see any, and I do not have anything in the chat either.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we are moving on to item 7, unfinished business, NA on this agenda. Item 8, adoption of minutes. 8.1 is the November 30th, 2021 special council meeting. Is there any questions on these minutes, members of council? 8.2 then, December 6th, 2021 public meeting. Any questions on those minutes? 8.3, December 7th, 2021 council meeting. Any questions, members of council? Clerk Scharbeck, to the recommendation, please.
Through you, Mayor, the recommendation is that the minutes of the special council meeting of November 30th, 2021, the public meeting of December 6th, 2021, and the regular council meeting of December 7th, 2021 are hereby approved as circulated.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hergert, are you moving the motion with your electronic hand?
Councillor Hergert, yes, I will move the motion.
Okay, and members of council, just so we're aware, I will take the electronic hand of Councillor Hergert who's on phone. Otherwise, please use your hand. Deputy Mayor, as the seconder, any questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand, please. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Item 9, committee and board reports. 9.1, Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, September 23rd, 2021. Any questions on these minutes? 9.2, Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, September 27, 2021 minutes. Any questions? 9.3, Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, November 17, 2021 minutes. Any questions? This is also an opportunity before we go to the motion, if there's any updates from members of council on your particular boards or committees. Okay, seeing none from members of council, I do want to give a Rockwood Terrace update. I want to let you know that Grey County staff met with the Ministry of Long-Term Care project manager and also a licensing colleague on November 29th to provide an update on the county's progress with the Rockwood Terrace project. Grey County advised the province that Kasian Architects has been retained as the prime consultant. The province provided the latest template for the development agreement. There were only a couple minor changes from the last version related to air conditioning requirements for the build. Colliers Consultants is working with Grey County and Kasian Architects on getting the agreement template completed. And there was an expectation that they were meeting prior to Christmas and have that agreement submitted to the province by year end. The province will make it a priority to review in January, and we hope to have a signed agreement in place by February 2022. Kasian Architects are working with Grey County staff and long-term care staff to understand their recommendations for the new build and how the overall site plan could be laid out. Colliers and Kasian will be providing an update to the Grey County Long-Term Care Redevelopment Task Force in January. So I am certain that I will have additional information to provide to this council and our community. Members of council, are there any updates? I'll ask for one final time. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I was trying to locate something that I had that I wanted to share. The Climate Action Committee plan up at the county we've completed phase 2 of the plan, and I'm very happy to say in the first quarter of 2022 they will be presenting the action plan. It's got all kinds of actions in it, and there's certainly some direction from the committee. It will go to council and it'll be rolled out to the lower tiers, but there's a lot of good stuff coming our way, and we are trying to aim for 2035 as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Scharbeck, to the recommendation at hand, please.
Through you, Mayor, the recommendation is that the minutes of committees and boards are hereby received.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Townsend, and as seconder, Councillor Hamilton. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. We're moving on to item 10, correspondence. 10.1, items of information. 10.1.1, Durham Hospital Foundation, thank you letter. Any comments? 10.1.2, West Grey Soccer Club, thank you letter. Any comments? 10.1.3, Neustadt Norby Carrick Agricultural Society, thank you letter. Any comments? Councillor Hutchinson.
Just a general comment. It's good to see that people do appreciate the money that they receive from the West Grey municipality. I do think that we need to discuss this further, and hopefully we will continue with this program in some form in the near future. And I know we are looking at it in the new year in terms of part of our budget. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Councillor. Clerk Scharbeck, to the recommendation, please.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that the council hereby receives all correspondence items not otherwise dealt with.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Shea, and a seconder, Councillor Hergert. Questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. Item 11, staff reports. 11.1.1, Director of Infrastructure Public Works. The first one, 11.1.1, Safety Footwear Allowance. Madam CAO, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson, and good morning, Council. With Council's indulgence, I would like to defer this report. I've discovered that there's a little bit more work that we would like to do at the staff level and bring this back to Council with the policy attached to the request. That way it's all done in one motion and it'll be a little bit more complete.
Very good. Thank you for that, that update. Members of Council, we're going to move on to 11.1.2, Winter Maintenance Agreement, Grey Road 27. Clerk Scharbeck, to the recommendation. I will take a mover and seconder. Any questions on the motion and or report, and then I'll call the vote. So Clerk Scharbeck, to the recommendation, please.
Through you, Mayor, the recommendation is that council receive the report, Winter Maintenance Agreement, Grey Road 27, and that the municipality of West Grey provide winter maintenance services on Grey Road 27 for a 1-year term with the possibility of extending the agreement for 2 years.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder? Councillor Hutchinson. Are there questions of either the motion or the report? For you, Councillor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I was sort of curious, and I can't remember now, it's a little while since I read this, but Stonehill Road, somebody help me out there in terms of the winter maintenance on Stonehill Road. I'm trying to think where that is, Stonehill Road.
Thank you for the question. Madam CAO, please.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I believe our Director of Finance can help us out with this question as well.
Certainly. I apologize. I should have gone there first. Director Meiton, please.
No problem. Stonehill Road is, if you were heading just across from Inner Forest, that sort of deviation road, you take off of Highway 4 or County Road 4 and you'd go up the hill and around. Do you know where I'm at?
Yeah.
Councillor
Okay.
Hutchinson? That's
Right.
that deviation sort of off of Highway 4 and it goes up the hill and then you'd come back onto Highway 4, but it's sort of across the road from the cemetery and Inner Force where you would sort of, and then it comes back out
Well,
at the bend.
that's the old highway, right? That's the
Yeah,
original
yeah, it's the
highway.
old deviation. But it's called Stonehill Road.
Yeah, I'm just curious why we would be maintaining that. I guess just because of that
It's our
hill.
road.
Yeah.
Yep. It was downloaded to West Gray or probably Bentic many years ago when the deviation was no longer required for the county road.
Right, but we have been maintaining it, sounds like, or the county has been maintaining that road, right? Is that the way it reads? And now they're not going to anymore.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Anything further, members of council? Anybody needs the motion read again? All right then. All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. Item 12, questions. In accordance with the West Gray procedural bylaw, members may request clarification or updates on previous agenda items. Are there any questions? Councillor Shea.
Yes, I had a question for the planner, but I don't know if the planner is here.
I'm doing
so
a quick look.
Oh, yes, I know. There she is. But and maybe the CAO would like to respond. So
Okay.
our official plan review is sort of on hold while the county concludes their official plan. But after the official plan, we were going to do a zoning bylaw review, I believe. And I just wondered if we should start on that while the other project is on hold, or if we have started on that, or just looking for a status update on that.
Thank you. Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. The official plan update is ongoing and being currently sent out for comment to authorities having jurisdiction. Until the official plan update is approved, it has to go through the county as well as the municipality in a public meeting to follow that. The zoning bylaw is currently being reviewed, but it's not before council at this point in time because there may be some implications based on the review of the official plan. We are not waiting for the county. We were waiting for the growth management strategy to be reviewed and accepted by county council. Their official plan is 2019, and that has been conducted and completed. It was the growth management strategy. I just wanted to make that point of clarification.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Shea?
No, thank you for that.
Any other member of council have a question? Okay, seeing none. We are now moving on to item 13, which is bylaws. Bylaw, or actually 13.1 is the item number. Bylaw 99-2021, Part Law Control, Block 62, Register Plan 16M-66 designated as Parts 1 to 4, in brackets, Welton, Sunville subdivision, end of bracket. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation.
Through you, Mayor Robinson, the recommendation is that bylaw 99-2021, being a bylaw to remove certain lands from part lot control within the municipality of West Gray, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Townsend. Questions? Councillor Hutchinson.
Yes, could the planner just maybe refresh our memory on what this is all about?
Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. So part lot control is essentially when a plan of subdivision is created and there's blocks on a plan, particularly when in general terms you're dealing with a townhouse unit or a duplex unit. This is creating the lot lines. So when you see a plan of subdivision come before you and it's block 19, that may involve 8 units. So in essence, this is creating the actual ability from a legal perspective for those units to be allocated to individual property owners. And that's where you release part lot control in the sense that the plan of subdivision allows you to have those separate units as a legal separate entity.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate with a raised hand. 6. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. 13.2, bylaw 100-2021, site plan control, lot 54, concession 1, NDR. Township of Glen Elg, in brackets, Van Dien Bosch, end of bracket. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation, please.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 100-2021, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a site plan control agreement, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Townsend. Any questions? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of the motion. The motion is carried. 13.3, bylaw 101-2021, landfill fees and charges. Clerk Sharbeck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 101-2021, being a bylaw to regulate the handling and collection of garbage, rubbish, and other waste materials, and to amend bylaw number 45-2021, being a bylaw to establish fees and charges for certain services provided by the municipality of West Grey, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hamilton. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hutchinson. Questions on the motion? Councillor Hutchinson.
Yes, I'm not sure who can speak to this, but I'm just curious about the Bentig landfill minimum charge is $10, the first statement. Durham minimum charge is $10 minimum charge, so that'd be per bag or whatever. But then under Normanby transportation, it's $10 for first bag minimum charge. So there seems to be some discrepancy there. I'm just not sure, unless it has to do with the using the scales, but
Okay.
not sure. Maybe someone can help me out with that.
Director Mighton, would that question be directed to you?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, there's no scale system there, so it's to try to capture that the minimum cost for one bag, and to make sure that there's not an advantage to people going to the Normanby landfill site, that they could take more garbage there as opposed to for a cheaper cost compared to the other 2 landfills.
Right. So the other, if I may, Madam Mayor, so the other
Yes.
other landfills, you pay the minimum charge, and it's sort of done by weight after that, I believe. Whereas with Normanby, so they pay $10 for the first bag. So what about the second bag and the third bag? How does that work?
So then it would be the $2 for each bag.
Okay,
After
so
that.
minimum 10 and then $2 on top of that. Okay, all right. I was just a little fuzzy on how that was working. Okay, thank you.
Thank you as well. Any other questions? Councillor Shea and then Councillor Townsend.
Just a point of clarification from the Director Mighton, you said $2 for thereafter. The document actually says $2.50 thereafter.
Director Mighton, please.
Sorry, yes, 250. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Shea?
No, thank you.
Councillor Townsend, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Going back to the difference between the rates and how it affects Normanby. If I go to Durham and have 3 or 4 bags, chances are I will still pay the $10. Yet, if you take the first bag to Normanby, you will actually pay $10 and then every bag on top of that. So it seems like there's a disadvantage or a disincentive at Normanby. And I wonder if the director could comment on that one as well, please.
Director Mighton.
Yeah, it was just to try to capture the fact that we don't know the weight of the amount of garbage going into the Normanby landfill or being dropped off at the Normanby landfill.
Okay, Councillor Townsend.
That's fine, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Councillor Shea.
I noticed that we list items that are not, that we don't charge for, like tires, scrap metal, and batteries. And I think that's great. We also now accept styrofoam and film plastic. And I wonder if they should be listed as no charge as well. I'm just trying to encourage people. I'm just trying to find every opportunity to remind people that we accept styrofoam and film plastic. And this would just be another opportunity.
Clerk Sharback, please.
Sorry. Just to note that the bylaw will be amended. Sorry, I just got coughing there.
No, please take your time. We will take one moment.
The recycling will be incorporated when the bylaw is brought back regarding the regulating of the landfills. So right now we're amending it by removing the fees, but the full bylaw will come back for an amended version and updated with our new recycling programs and reflect any changes that may have happened over the years as well. So that will be in its own bylaw.
Appreciate the clarity. Anything further, Councillor Shea?
No, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. We're now on 13.4, bylaw 102-2021, a zoning amendment, part of divisions 2 and 3 of lot 24, concession 1, EGR, Township of Glenelg, in brackets, Rose subdivision, end of bracket. Clerk Sharback, to the recommendation.
Through you, Mayor. The recommendation is that bylaw 102-2021, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 37, 2006, for property known as part of divisions 2 and 3 of lot 24, concession 1, EGR, Township of Glenelg, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hamilton, and a seconder, Councillor Townsend. Questions? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. We are now on 13.5, but before I go there, I see a raised hand, Councillor Hutchinson.
Yeah, if I may, if we can just go back, I just received a email from our treasurer just about a correction on a previous item that we talked about regarding the maintenance of.
Councillor Hutchinson, I thank you. Let's first get through the bylaws, and we need to go through the agenda, but so noted, okay?
Okay, so we can come back and make that correction later, maybe?
Yes, we'll have the clarification, but we do need to address this.
Okay,
So appreciate it. 13.5 bylaw 103-2021, confirming the proceedings of council. Clerk Sharback, to the recommendation.
Through you, Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 103-2021, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Hergert. Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor. Questions on the bylaw? Councillor Hutchinson, I wonder if you could just take your electronic hand down. I appreciate it. Questions on the motion? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. This motion is carried. Clerk Sharback, we've had a question from Councillor Townsend, just seeking clarity on 11.1.2 on the winter maintenance agreement. When would you suggest the appropriate time to just have his question asked be?
To you, Mayor, I think before we get further into the agenda, it would be appropriate to sort that right now, so we don't miss it, and we're not too far past it.
Wonderful. So with that, Councillor Hutchinson, state your question and we'll have Director Mighton respond.
Okay, so it was just when I was a little confused when I heard the word Stonehill Road, and our director Mighton mentioned about the Hutton Hill Road. So just to make sure people are clear that the Stonehill Road maintenance, by the way this reads, is the maintenance of the hill which is west of the Gray Road 23 on the south line of previous canal, I believe. So there is a bit of a hill there so I believe that's the one that they were maintaining rather than the Hutton Hill Road. And maybe Director Mighton can clarify that.
Thank you for the question. Director Mighton, please.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, I misspoke there. It's South Hill or Stonehill Road, not Hutton Hill. So that's it doesn't change the agreement. The agreement is for Stonehill Road.
Right. It was just a location. I just wanted to make sure people knew which one we're talking about there. So that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. Moving on to item 14, new business. 14.1, notice of motion. Add council members to the West Gray Employee Assistance Plan in brackets EAP, end of bracket. I extend the courtesy to the member of council that puts a notice of motion forward with the opportunity to read the motion if they so choose. Councillor Hamilton, would you like to read your motion or would you like the clerk to read it?
I'll read it. Thank you, Mayor Robinson.
Please go ahead.
Whereas the municipality of West Gray has an employee and family assistance program, EAP, for full-time employees. Whereas the EAP provides health and wellness support, including counseling services. Whereas the cost of adding council members to the EAP would be $168 per year plus HST. Therefore, be it resolved that the cost of adding council members to the EAP be included in the 2022 budget for council's consideration. And I would like to speak to the motion at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Certainly. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Townsend. Councillor Hamilton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I just wanted to extend a thank you to Deputy Mayor Desai of Grey Highlands for bringing a very similar motion forward to Grey County Council. It's been on my mind about how we might have more supports, mental health supports for leaders in municipal politics. And I think this is a very sensible path forward. It's a program West Gray's already part of. And just to be clear, the $168 a year would be for all members of council. So it's not a lot of cost either for just to have those supports available as needed for members of council. And the request is that this be added as a line item for our budget. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this item? Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson, and I will support this notice of motion. The one thing that I would ask the mover and the seconder consider is that Grey County has already undertaken this, and Mayor Robinson and myself as the representatives are covered at the county. So whether there's no sense wasting money if we could just specifically speak to our direct councilors for this particular motion. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that. My suggestion is that because both you and I are covered at the county, that we not participate in the local one. However, I think it needs to stand overall globally for West Grey Council, and it just be adjusted accordingly when there is coverage in another government entity. So my suggestion is it stand, and then through the administrative process, it be clarified on that. Thank you. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, and I was just going to suggest that not all people would need it. Some people may, like ourselves, have private insurance that this is already falls under. So it may not be necessary for everyone.
Very good. I'm not seeing any other questions. So all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. Item 14.2, the notice of motion regarding the Sauget Municipal Airport Clerk Scharbeck, I have a question for you before we go any further on this, and that is with regard to the matter being ultra vires and outside of our scope. Is there, can this proceed? I know we've had a vote from council, but I'm just looking for any comment that you may have with regard to this before we go any further with the item.
Through you, Mayor, there are definitely sections in here that are outside of the scope of council's jurisdiction. So they're ultra vires, and council doesn't have the authority to require certain things from another body, another corporate body, such as the Airport Commission. It is a standalone corporation. So council did vote in favor of voting on it anyway. I would suggest that perhaps a legal opinion on the ultra vires might benefit. I'll defer to the CAO's advice on that one as well.
Thank you. Madam CAO, please.
Through Mayor Robinson, and I concur with our clerk. Despite the fact that council has decided that they'd like to deal with this motion today, I have concerns, and I do not have the legal expertise to advise council on best steps forward. So it is an option to defer this until we can secure legal advice, or council can proceed as you see fit.
Thank you, Madam CAO. Councillor Townsend, we're using raised hands. So I acknowledge you. What do you wish to say at this point?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to ask if there is an opportunity to revise the motion to remove anything that is considered inappropriate, or perhaps even provide different direction, like to reinforce the fact that we'd like to meet with our partners to discuss this item. And I'm not sure the latitude, because it is a notice of motion, and that's why I'm asking.
Indeed. So it is a notice of motion, very specific. If there's any changes to it, in my opinion, it would have to come back. Clerk Scharbeck, could you provide clarity overall, please, on Councillor Townsend's question?
Thank you for that question. Councillor Townsend, I think it is a notice of motion, so it is before council as it stands, and council did vote to address it at this meeting. So I do concur with the CAO that legal opinion may benefit on this, although it is council's prerogative to go forward. An amendment to make it, I guess, within council's jurisdiction, intra vires, may change it significantly. I think it would be a different motion, actually, but I also don't have the expertise to say just which parts would stay and which would go. But it's council's wish.
Anything further, Councillor Townsend?
Yes, I would like to move that we defer this until the next meeting to allow the CAO to do some research, but also perhaps to bring it back in a different vein.
So with that, Clerk Scharbeck, could you clarify the motion that you require, and then please read it back?
Through you, Mayor, just to clarify, Councillor Hutchinson, or sorry, Councillor Townsend, pardon me. You'd like to defer this motion to a future meeting. It will come back as a deferred item, exactly as it is for council to deal with, but there may be an opportunity at that time to bring back a second motion if it's council's wish at that time when we have more information. But so is this motion just to defer until such time as staff obtains legal advice?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. We'll wait a moment for the clerk to have the language in the motion, and then I will look for a seconder.
So through you, Mayor, I would say that is the motion moved by Councillor Townsend, that item 14.2, notice of motion, Saugeen Municipal Airport, be deferred until such time as staff has had an opportunity to obtain legal advice.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Deputy Mayor. Clerk Scharbeck, I am requesting a recorded vote. So I leave that in your hands.
Respectfully, Mayor, it's Councillor Hergert. I have
Councillor Hergert,
Yes.
please use your raised hand if you wish to speak, and then I will acknowledge you. That is the procedure. Thank you. Councillor Hergert, what is your inquiry?
My point of order is that this is not even on the floor. I've not been able to present the notice of motion. It's obviously on our agenda. There was absolutely no discussion about even reading it for the record. So I would like to be extended the same privileges as other members of council, and I appreciate your awareness to that. Thank you.
Thank you. On your point of order, we are dealing with the concern of it being ultra virus outside the scope, and there was inquiries once the item was introduced, inquiries of our clerk and our CAO. An alternate motion is before us on the floor that we need to deal with. So Clerk Scharbeck, to the recorded vote when you're ready.
Yes, through you, Mayor, just the motion to defer this until such time as a legal opinion is obtained or legal advice. And that is moved by Councillor Townsend. Sorry, I missed the seconder.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I'll call the recorded vote. Councillor Hutchinson, how do you vote?
Favor?
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Townsend, how do you vote?
In favor?
Mayor Robinson?
In favor.
Councillor Shea?
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton?
Yes.
Councillor Hergert?
Councillor Hergert, yes.
And the motion to defer is carried.
Thank you. We are now moving on to item 14.3, notice of motion, police services. As customary, I invite the mover to speak, but before that is introduced, I see a hand up by Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. Sorry to interrupt. May I request just a 5-minute, just a really quick 5-minute break before we move into the next motion?
Well, we would normally have the break around 10:30 and then just move it along. So I was wondering if we can go through the items and then at 10:30, that seems to be our regular process. But you're certainly able to leave if you wish, but normally our process is 10:30 for this.
I'm requesting a 5-minute break, please. I guess that'd be point of personal privilege.
Okay, with the point of personal privilege then, I will address that. And it's, you're looking for a 5-minute break. So at 10:05, let's return back. Please put your audio and video on mute. Thank you. Someone's audio's on, so please have that turned off before we start the meeting, member of council or members of council. Okay, I'm calling this meeting back to order. It is 10:05. I hope everyone enjoyed their break. I'm just looking to ensure that we have all members of council. 6, 7 members of council are present. Clerk, actually, Madam CIO, do you have the staff you require?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we can proceed.
Okay. So I did introduce the item, which is 14.3 Notice of Motion Police Services. I extend the courtesy to the member of council who has put the notice of motion forward, the opportunity to either read or have the clerk read the motion. Clerk, actually not, pardon me. Councillor Herger, do you wish to read your notice of motion?
Notice of motion, whereas West Grey Council values the outstanding quality of policing provided by West Grey Police Service, and whereas council has the responsibility to ratepayers to ensure that public funds are spent in a responsible manner and that major decisions are made only after considering all of the relevant facts and options. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council formally request a costing from the OPP and directs staff to take the necessary steps to initiate the process. Mayor
Is there a
Robinson.
Clerk, Councillor Hergert, I need to get a seconder. So please just, when I can address your concerns later in the motion, but I need to follow the process. Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Townsend is seconding.
And I do have some comments, Madam Mayor.
Certainly. So I will address any comments that, or I will acknowledge any member of council that wishes to speak to this, beginning with Councillor Hergert.
Thank you. There is a typo in the second paragraph to ensure that public funds are spent, S-P-E-N-T. I do have some comments. That would be, I'm glad to see the support that the West Grey Police have from this council and the community. The police are well respected, hardworking, and dedicated to our community. The conversation today is not to do with the quality of the police. This has everything to do with sustainability of the local police force. Recently, all departments within West Grey have undergone a service delivery review, except for the police and library. We as council have a fiscal responsibility to the citizens, and it is a balancing act between levels of service, what we want, and budget, what we need and what we can afford. I look forward to working with the West Grey Police Service Board and continued communication and information sharing. This costing is limited to due diligence and good information sharing. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Clerk Sharbeck, I will be looking for a recorded vote on this matter. Thank you. Over to you, Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to thank all those who sent emails, posted on social media or otherwise reached out to council. I think that it really is good that you do support the West Grey Police Service, as we all do. And there was quite a range of community responses, I must admit. I'd also like to thank the West Grey Police Services Board for the information they shared. And I hope this will lead to even more information sharing between the West Grey Police Services Board and Council, so that we can both be working together to deliver the best police services for the municipality. From what I've received and read, there does appear to be some confusion within the community about the intent of the motion, so I'd like to put that into context. This is not a motion to replace West Grey Public Services Police Board or the services themselves. This is a motion that allows us to look into what kind of models we can have, what kind of options there are for policing, and that is the intent. The question then comes, why the motion and why now? With the last 2 years of actually seeing rising inflation, increased costs due to COVID, and all the other factors that affect our budget, and the many requests for funding to support services, the council does need to review and understand all the options available to meet these challenges. And that's not, as Councillor Herger said, just one area. It does include police services. By the way, just so you know, police services now takes and requires 1/3 of the property taxes revenue that is collected. And I just thought people would like to know that. And why are we doing it? Well, the increased funding in all areas, as I mentioned, means you have to look at all of them. You have to figure out how you can deal with it and how you can balance where you spend. So in 2021, the increase request was over 10%, ended up being 7.9. This year, we are again faced with another 10.3%. If we maintain that kind of increase going forward, over the next 10-year window, we will have either doubled or multiplied the budget and required funding by 2.5 times. That's a serious amount of change to do when we have all the other challenges and pressures, as I mentioned. The other catch is a part of the due diligence that we will do will also involve the business plan from the police board. That is coming as well. Look forward to seeing that. And I hope that will in fact look at services, service levels, and do a projection of resources and potential funding over that 3-year period. We need that in order to understand where we're heading, and it can't just be happening year by year. The other catch is the council has requested as part of its due diligence from the West Grey Police Services Board a breakdown of those services that are legislated and those that are not. Reason for that is, as we go through it, we need all the information. There's no commitment to remove services. There's a commitment right now to understand them. The other thing is that you need to look at what other options are and models are available to you. And that is the purpose of the motion, is to give council and staff the opportunity and the authority to do exactly that. There is no commitment to actually replace West Grey police services, and it's not to look at another provider. We have a provider, and that is called West Grey Police Services. And there is no intent at this time to change them. The other catch is that if in fact that ever came about, that was the intent, first the motion would have to be clear, and there must be, in my mind, a mandatory public meeting and community consultation. And I would ensure that happened, because doing otherwise to me would be totally unacceptable. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson, and through you to Director Mighton, if I could get a confirmation on the actual budget number. There was a reference by Councillor Townsend, it's 1/3. So if I get a clarity on that, please.
Director Mighton, please.
I will get back to you if you leave that with me. I will look into that just to confirm. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, and I do have additional comments, Mayor Robinson.
Please proceed.
Thank you. First off, I just want to thank all the citizens of West Grey for their input over the weekend, and again, even till this morning. The reach out showing your support by email, phone calls, and speaking with me in publicly clearly shows the support the community has for the West Grey Police Services. I want to state that I do not support OPP costing, and I'm 100% in support of the West Grey Police Services. I just want to reference some of the Office of the Auditor General of Ontario has just released, just recently. And a couple of the highlights here is the OPP detachments, are increasingly understaffed with frontline workers. OPP is providing less proactive policing in the province. Detachment inspections lack authority to drive improvement. Stress-related officer leaves are contributing to rising vacancies and cost. The OPP are not delivering service levels to the municipalities that are identified as required by their deployment model. And just think about that. So I don't want to see West Grey become another statistic, and that just speaks heaps and bounds of where they're going. Another option or item is frontline officer schedules are not aligned with the calls for service. There's several other areas of concern, but you can see a consistent pattern here. The overall conclusion from the auditor's report, and it states, Our audit concluded that the OPP did not have processes in place to consistently deliver provincial and municipal police services efficiently and effectively. And you can reference some of the correspondence CBC posted December 3rd regarding Canora's increase in their cost of OPP, $750,000 in the last 2 years, and it's continuing to grow, and they need to cut some other services, and it is going to put their community at risk. Another article of the Bay today, December 15th, similar financial implications to the town of Callander, which is near North Bay. And again, they're in the same boat. In closing, West Grey Police Services do provide us with an affordable and excellent service. They live, shop, and volunteer in our community. They are our family, friends, and neighbors. The recent annual toy drive is a prime example of their deep community connection they have in West Grey. So 199 gifts speaks heaps and bounds, and that's not where they stop. They do all kinds of other very active volunteer roles in our community. So I'm asking my colleagues to listen to your constituents, acknowledge the findings of the Office of the Auditor General of Ontario, put your community first, and do the right thing by defeating this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there any other member of council that wishes to speak to this item? Councillor Shea.
Thank you. I'd like to just thank the mover and seconder for kickstarting an important and thoughtful conversation. I'd like to reiterate the point that they both made, that this is not a decision. This is a decision to start a conversation, to do some research and gather some data. And I think that's what we are obliged to do as municipal leaders. And so that for those reasons, I think I would support this motion. Thank you.
Is there any other member of council that wishes to speak to this item? Councillor Hamilton and then Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. And I'd like to thank Councillor Hergert for bringing this motion forward and giving council the opportunity to discuss this. And I'd like to also, of course, thank the many citizens who reached out to council, a majority of whom are opposed to an OPP costing at this time. Also acknowledge that we received many positive comments shared by these same residents about West Grey Police Services and their support for community policing. As well, concerns expressed that OPP wouldn't be able to provide comparable police services. And so I also want to go back and clarify what the decision is today. The decision is not to switch to OPP policing, not whatsoever. The decision today is to whether we would like to begin the process of an OPP costing, information gathering. Council has a fiscal responsibility to our community in all of the services we provide. Council aims to make decisions that are data-driven, that are based on reliable and up-to-date information. In the last 2 years, the cost of West Grey Police Services has increased by 19%, surging to $4 million in our 2022 budget. Council would be doing their due diligence in requesting an OPP costing to better understand not just the costs, but also the service levels. They're equally important. You don't know what you don't know. So let's gather the information for the benefit of council and our community. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to say that this is a budget item, and I look forward to working with our police board to discuss their budget further. I think that's where this needs to be. Also, first of all, I'd like to thank all the residents who have spoken and emailed their concerns over this issue over the last few days. I'm disappointed that we have to spend so much time and effort on this in a time of so much uncertainty and at Christmas time. People have spoken. Over 50 or so emails that I have responded to, 90% want no part of OPP costing at this time. They love our West Grey Police Force. There's visibility, there's communication, there's community involvement, not to mention that a good number are West Grey residents. Yes, they love the level of policing comes at a cost. We all know that, but people seem to be willing to pay. We've been down this road before with OPP over the years, previous to this council, and felt there were too many uncertainties, too much inconsistency. All you have to do is read the Auditor General report, which the Deputy Mayor referred to. Yes, we are dealing with budget and how to get it to an acceptable level for our citizens. We will get there. We always do. I would hope that before we make any changes to any of our core services, that any major changes, that we reach out to our public. I feel a lot of people felt that they were blindsided on this because all of a sudden now we're looking at police costing. Regardless of how you twist it, it looks like we're looking at OPP, and people are not happy about that. So finally, I'd just like to say, we're in the midst of building a police station. We have a great police force. I think we look silly if we start looking backwards towards OPP. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I'm not in favor of this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. Councillor Townsend, you will be a second-time speaker, and you have 1 minute left to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to reiterate, this is not a decision to move to OPP. That is not the intent. The intent is when you don't have anything to compare it to, you need to look at other ways to provide the service. I will invite the Police Services Board to work with us to ensure what we do is what we say we're going to do and to help us reach that goal. If that happens, obviously, you'll make sure that we are not going to look at outsourcing at this time. We are using it as a data source to be able to determine how we can do things differently and potentially help us financially. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes your time, Councillor Townsend. Deputy Mayor, as the second-time speaker. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, as the second-time speaker, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and I will not take the 2 minutes, Mayor Robinson. I just listened to a couple of responses there. One is, what kind of staff resources do we have in place for this is one thing. This is going to take a tremendous amount of work, and we are already overloaded at the staff level. The other thing that's really concerned is that we are going into the 4th year of the term of this particular council, and I think this is a big item to be putting on the table, and obviously we don't know what the outcome or what the next council will be, and this could be an item that's before them. So I think this is an exercise. One is it's just the staff resources and the time and commitment, and I think we should be clear with the OPP. If they're coming here and all we're asking for is just for a comparison, I think maybe we better let them know that that's the direction so that they're not spending all their valuable time. As we can see, they already have struggles of their own. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there any other member of council that wishes to speak either as a first or second time? Okay, Deputy Mayor, I'm going to transfer the chair to you. I will be speaking as soon as when you acknowledge me to speak. And also just a reminder to Clerk Scharbeck, I'm looking for a recorded vote on this. So Deputy Mayor, I transfer the chair and I'd like to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Mayor Robinson. I do have record of first and second time speakers, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I first want to thank the overwhelming number of citizens that have provided the outreach either by phone calls or emails to support our West Grey Police Service and who overwhelmingly oppose the notice of motion that is before us currently. I also want to thank our chair, which is Doug Townsend, chair of the West Grey Police Service Board, for speaking during the comment period and supporting the West Grey Police Service and opposing as a board supporting the West Grey Police Service overall. That is very much appreciated. I will not be supporting this motion. I have not heard any compelling reason to support this motion at hand. We have an extremely successful West Grey Police Service that is serving our community through enforcement, through the Ontario Police Services Act, at a community level in our schools. We are very fortunate to have a local police service in West Grey. I've said it many, many times, and I will shout it to make it abundantly clear that I support our West Grey Police Service, and I am proud of our West Grey Police Service. This motion, although identifies support for West Grey Police, and then in the second paragraph is asking for a costing through OPP, and the presentations through this item that I've heard are not reason enough to support this motion at hand. This motion also, I'd like to point out, comes on the very last council meeting of our third term, our third year in our term. The last meeting, talk about pulling the rug from under our community and our West Grey Police, as well as just having it on the item. Although duly before us as an item, the timing is just, in my opinion, most inappropriate. I will not be supporting this motion at all. And I want to make it very, very clear how proud I am of our West Grey Police Service and our West Grey Police Service Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I'll be looking for second-time speakers before I go to Clerk Scharbeck for the recorded vote. Seeing none, Clerk Scharbeck, I will hand it over to you to call the recorded vote, please.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. The recorded vote on agenda item 14.3, notice of motion for police services to formally request a costing from the OPP, moved by Councillor Herger and seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Hutchinson, how do you vote?
Not in favor.
Councillor Hergert?
Councillor Hergert, yes.
Councillor Hamilton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Robinson?
Not in favor.
Councillor Townsend?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson?
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, not in favor.
Councillor Shea?
Yes.
And that motion is carried.
We are now moving on to item 15, announcements. In accordance with the West Grey procedural bylaw, comments are not debatable, nor shall they introduce new business. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes per member. Are there any announcements, members of council? Councillor Townsend, then Councillor Hergert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last Wednesday, there was a webinar from the South Bruce Grey Health Centre board, which also had contributions from the CEO, Michael Barrett, regarding service levels and staff shortages and what that was going to happen. Excuse me, because the Durham Hospital is in West Grey, was very concerned about that. And so following up, I can tell you that there have been some changes made, but they did not affect Durham. Things stay as they are at this time. There was a statement in their announcement that basically said that that's it for this point. But they did have quite a few opportunities and alternatives they could have reached to. And that's not to say that they won't do that in the future if the situation doesn't improve, but hopefully it will. I just thought the rest of council and those listening would want to hear that update. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Townsend. That information session was certainly broadly circulated. I attended that information session, and I will be avidly keeping an eye on. I participate in a session with area mayors and the South Grey Bruce Health Centre. So we'll keep you apprised. Councillor Hergert.
Yes, I just wanted to wish the public, staff, and council all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I look forward to working with everyone in the new year. Thank you.
Is there any other member of council that has an announcement? Okay, we are now moving on to item 16, closed session. Clerk Scharbeck to the recommendation, please.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey does now go into a closed session at 10:29 a.m. with the CAO, Director of Finance Treasurer, Director of Administration Clerk, and Mr. Todorov of Johnson & Schwass Professional Corporation for the purpose of receiving advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and to address personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
Councillor Hergert, you have your hand up just before I'm asking for a mover and seconder. What is your concern?
I would like to move the motion.
All right, thank you very much. So I would normally ask for a mover first, and I will acknowledge you as the mover. Is there a seconder for this motion, Deputy Mayor? Members of council, are there any questions on the motion at hand? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor. The motion is carried. We will now go into a closed session. There, I just turned on my mic. So I just want to ensure that we have all members of council, so give me a moment. 7 members of council are in attendance. Madam CIO, do you have the staff you require?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So on item number 17, as we are back to order, I would like to report that in closed session, council addressed matters pertaining to or for the purpose of receiving advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and to address personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And staff direction was given. Is there any further motion? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move that we appoint Lydia Dick to the Climate Action Committee, effective immediately.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hergert, is there any questions? All those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. Item 18, adjournment. Clerk Scharbeck to the recommendation.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that we do now adjourn at 11:43 a.m. to meet again on January 4th, 2021, or at the call of the chair.
Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Hergert, all those in favor indicate with a raised hand. 7 members of council have voted in favor of this motion. The motion is carried. I would very much like to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year on behalf of West Grey Council to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.